The power of balance. This is why we're talking about Ian McGilchrist and Avatar Aang. Ian McGilchrist and Avatar Aang. One is a fictional person, the other is non-fiction. They both represent a spirit that one has and so does the other. They both share a similar spirit. This idea of balance, approaching the world through the perspective of balance. When you're digging your hole, folks, down you dig, and you create your little echo chamber with your few mates who are down there digging with you, that is going to lead you to an unbalanced worldview, because you're shutting off all the other opinions and pieces of information that could otherwise update your current worldview. You're shutting them off. So you are going to move closer to an unbalanced worldview, a distorted worldview. It's the same with Avatar Aang. If the Avatar doesn't exist, then what can happen is the world can fall out of balance. In the series, The Last Airbender, the Fire Nation, as I said, they wage a war on the entire planet, on the entire world. So the world starts to fall out of balance. And Avatar Aang, who basically locked himself away in an iceberg for 100 years, he gets discovered. He gets broken out of the ice, and the Avatar re-emerges back into the world again. And his role is to restore balance. Avatar Aang must bring balance to the world. And when we look at our own modern day world, folks, as I said in our introduction, it's not very difficult to see that people in the world are falling brutally out of balance. Whether it's the food they are eating, causing them to be a misshapen, obese mess, alcohol they are consuming, drugs they are taking, wacky-backy that they're smoking, social media, which is just taking up enormous amounts of their time, their energy and their attention, placing them in an echo chamber whereby they are being fed information that confirms their worldview, doesn't challenge their worldview, it confirms their worldview, placing them in an echo chamber and leading them towards unbalanced conclusions, unbalanced worldviews. When you think about how nature is just becoming more and more, it's becoming a smaller part of everyday life for people. People just get used to the concrete jungle. You didn't evolve in a concrete jungle. You evolved with nature. You evolved with it. And again, people spend more and more time indoors. They spend more and more time in the city. The noise pollution, just of cars, it's very agitating for your brain. The air pollution, the light pollution. People are moving away from their natural roots. And that's another reason why people are falling out of balance. They're not getting in touch with nature. So when you think of all these things, folks, social media, lack of contact with nature, concrete jungles, drugs, alcohol, supernormal food, gambling, porn, all of these things lead to people falling out of balance. And when you fall out of balance, who gets the raw end of the deal out of life? You. If your health falls out of balance, you're in pain. Your life is in jeopardy. If you allow your life and your time to be taken up by social media and addictive algorithms, you waste your precious waking hours. If you spend all your time in a concrete jungle being assaulted by all of these highly stimulating things and you don't get into nature, you can't clear your mind. You can't sort of decontaminate your mind and your imagination. You don't have room in your mind to think. There's so many things in your house. There's so many things to do. So many distractions. How do you engage your imagination when it's so full of shit? You're out of balance. And whenever you fall out of balance, you get the raw end of the deal in life. When the fictional world falls out of balance and the Fire Nation start waging war on the other nations, the Water Nation, the Air Nation, the Earth Nation, the world falls out of balance. And that's not good for anyone. But Avatar Aang is there to restore balance. That's his role. He's the symbol of balance. Ian McGilchrist is a good, living example of a balanced way of approaching life's most important questions. And even more broadly, a more balanced way of just generally approaching life. If you're going to take one thing away from this, folks, it's the power of balance. That's what we've called the show today. The modern world is constantly trying to pull you out of balance. It's trying to put you into an unbalanced state. Because when you're in an unbalanced state, when you're fat and obese because you eat a whole pile of shit, when you're drugged out of your head, when you're drunk because you're just drinking so much alcohol, when you're on the magic mushrooms, when you're stuck gambling away all your money in your life, when you're stuck in a social media echo chamber thanks to addictive algorithms, you are easier to control, manipulate, and exploit. When you put yourself in a vulnerable state, or in these vulnerable states, these unbalanced states, when you're in an unbalanced state, you're vulnerable to being exploited. It is within some other person's interest to have you fat and obese, to have your health going awry, to have you hooked on drugs, to have you consuming a whole bunch of alcohol, to have you glued to your phone on social media, to have you stuck in an echo chamber whereby you're only getting fed information that confirms your worldview. It's within someone else's interest to have you be more distant from nature, from your ancestral roots. It's within someone else's interest for you to allow your left hemisphere to just run riot. Because when your left hemisphere of your brain runs riot, all you can see is the fucking bark on the tree. Imagine this is the tree. Your left hemisphere is like this. It can't see that the bark is part of a fucking tree. It can't see that the tree is part of a forest. It can't see that there's a predator stalking you. You're so focused on the bark. Ooh, this is very interesting bark. That before you know it, you're getting the arse chewed off you by a jaguar or a black panther. The modern world is allowing its left hemisphere, the left hemisphere side of the brain, we could say, to run riot. People are just tuning out. They're in their little echo chambers. They're fat as pigs. They're drugged out of their eyeballs. They're addicted to gambling, addicted to social media, distant from nature. Their mind is totally distracted and contaminated with garbage. And when you're distracted and your imagination is unable to function in an active, accurate way, you start coming to bizarre-looking conclusions about life. You start coming to very distorted conclusions about life. And the more distorted your conclusions about life, the increased probability there is of you making mistakes. And if you start making enough mistakes, folks, and the mistakes become bigger and wilder, sooner or later you're going to get yourself in a big old pickle. And it's going to be you who loses out. So that's what we take from this episode, folks. It's the power of balance. Avatar Aang is balanced. He is the master of all four elements. He's able to enter the avatar state, and he is the one that brings balance to the world. When the world starts to fall out of balance, he brings balance. You need to be like Avatar Aang. You need to look at your own life like a little world. You need to look at your own life the way Avatar Aang looks at his world. You need to be selfish, folks. That's why you hear me talk about being selfish. That word has been demonized. Selfishness is a bad thing. Fucking no way it is. If you haven't got your own house in order, if you aren't looking after number one, and if number one hasn't got his or her ducks in a row, and if number one is not in optimal circumstances, how the fuck can you expect to be able to effectively help other people if you yourself are in suboptimal circumstances? It is a necessity that you look after number one first. You need to be selfish. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. To actually help other people, you need to be selfish. But when you think about it logically, if you're broke and you've no money and your health is completely, down the toilet and you're a mess, how are you going to help someone in that state? You can't. You certainly can't do it effectively or as effectively as you otherwise could. So you need to start looking at your life in the same way that Avatar Aang looks at his world. Avatar Aang sees himself as the entity, as the individual who is responsible for restoring balance to the world. You need to start viewing yourself as an avatar, like Avatar Aang, and forget about everybody else. Forget about solving the world's problems. Fuck me, folks. Forget about that. Focus on your own little world. Get your own house in order. And start trying to bring balance to your own personalized, individualized world first. Get that right first. Don't put the cart before the horse. You be the avatar of your own world. Think of yourself. Draw inspiration from Avatar Aang. Look at your own world, your own individual world. Forget about your mother's world, your father's world, your brothers, your friends, your fucking girlfriend, your boyfriend, your dog and your cat. Just focus on your own world. Are you in balance? Are you, as the avatar of your own world, are you restoring balance in your world? Are you maintaining balance in your world? Look at it. Critically analyze it. Are you fat as a fool, out of shape, obese, and your health is going down the toilet? In other words, you're out of balance. If you are, you need to restore balance. We've done a number of shows, folks. Go look at the lessons in nature. Go look at the mind streams that we've done here on the channel. I've talked about, if we look at it from an ancestral point of view, what is your best bet when it comes to dietary practices? Or find someone else that you trust. Get yourself in balance with regards to your health. That should be a priority. Look, are you addicted to fucking gambling? Are you addicted to alcohol? Are you hooked on drugs? I'm not saying it's easy, folks. Are you addicted to social media? Are you stuck in an echo chamber? Are you stuck in a concrete jungle? When was the last time you were out in nature? How contaminated is your mind? How disorderly is your house? How much is your work infringing upon your ability to see the world clearly? If you are out of balance, folks, you are in a disadvantageous set of circumstances. You're more likely to be manipulated and exploited. You need to get into balance. Being the avatar, folks, don't misunderstand me. Being the avatar is not easy. Avatar Aang has the hardest job of anybody in his world. He is responsible for maintaining balance in the entire world. That is extremely challenging. It's extremely difficult. So I'm not saying that it's easy for you to be the avatar of your own world. Nobody's saying that. But folks, nobody's gonna save you. You do realize that. There's no knight in shining armor. There's no other avatar that's going to come into your life and restore balance to your life. The only person who can act as the avatar in your life is you. You need to take responsibility. There's nothing you can do about it. That is one undeniable fact of reality. Nobody's going to solve problems in your life for you. Nobody's going to float in and say, it's okay, I'm the avatar, I'll solve all your problems. Only you can do that. Only you have the ability to restore balance to your own life. Nobody can do it for you. People can advise you. People can recommend what you should or should not do. But only you can carry out the mechanical action of restoring balance to your world. Just like Avatar Aang is the only person who can carry out the mechanical action of restoring balance to his world. It's not easy, folks, but nobody else is going to do it for you. You have no other option. So you can either choose not to take responsibility, suffer from falling into an unbalanced state and get manipulated and exploited by other people, or you can accept, take control of your life. It's actually very empowering. It's a very empowering thought. You can actually take control of your existence. You're the fucking avatar. Think about it. You are the avatar. You're the master of all four elements. You can enter the avatar state. You just need to train yourself. That's what Avatar Aang needed to do. He just needed to train himself. He needed to focus. He needed to get rid of distraction. He needed to get in touch with his avatar spirit. If he's distracted, he can't do that. But the notion that you are the avatar is very empowering. It means you don't have to wait for someone to give you the green light. You can do it. And it's the same when we look at Ian McGilchrist. In terms of how we should approach information, in terms of how we should approach the big questions in life, Ian McGilchrist can teach us whether you agree or not with his current conclusions, which he would have the humility to update if new information comes in, whether you agree or disagree with him. What we can all learn from Ian McGilchrist is the way a scientist should behave, the way a scientist should approach the big questions. You should approach life with an openness, a curiosity, and an imagination that is not contaminated but active and willing to explore possibilities and see where life takes it. That's what McGilchrist can teach us. And folks, when we pair these two together, when we take what Avatar Aang can teach us, Avatar Aang teaches us that we can be the avatar in our own life. We can selfishly look at our own existence and say, you know what? I'm going to bring balance to my own life. And once I, as the avatar of my own existence, bring balance to my life, I'm actually now in a position to help other people. I'm in a position to be of value to other people. And I can contribute in a way that other people are going to respect. I'm going to contribute in a way where other people will then value me. That's what Avatar Aang can teach us. Avatar Aang can give us this empowering sense that we actually can control our own destinies to a certain degree. If we engage with life in the right way, we can restore balance. We may not be able to restore balance to the world as a whole. That's not what I'm talking about. No one person can do that. Man's got to know what he can and what he can't do. But what you can do is restore balance to your own life. That's a very empowering thought. That's what Avatar Aang can teach us. The ability to restore balance to our own life is very much within our control. And then Ian McGilchrist, we can pair that with Ian McGilchrist's approach to answering the big questions. His approach to analysing life as a whole. Openness, curiosity, active imagination. Don't dig your trench. Don't allow your left hemisphere to delude you, to basically deceive you into this deluded state that you're going to put yourself into. Don't allow your left hemisphere to have you glued to the bark of the tree, to the point where you're unable to see the tree as a whole, the forest as a whole, and all the organisms that inhabit the forest. Don't allow that to happen. How do you prevent your left hemisphere from running riot in life? From restricting your vision of the world, from putting the blinkers on? Your left hemisphere, how do we stop it from just conjuring nonsense out of thin air? Openness, curiosity, and an active imagination. When we pair what Avatar Aang can teach us with what Ian McGilchrist can teach us, all of a sudden, folks, probability-wise, we have increased exponentially our capacity to restore balance to our own life. And the more balance we can restore to our lives, the clearer we view the reality in which we live, the more optimal our decisions become, the more benefit we can extract from life.